topic to kind
Oh
of
yeah,
refresh that,
100%.
hey, why why is it important to know your budget? Why is it important to know your monthly payment? Why is it important to know your cash to close? I
For
think
sure.
all of that is important because when you I, I believe that buying a home is second, first, third home, it's always a little bit emotional.
Yeah,
So I believe that once you take that emotional off and you can see realistically what you're okay with, your monthly payment, your cash from closing, then you can like kind of see the numbers and see, okay, this is what I'm okay with. So I just think it's a really good topic to talk about that.
for sure. Let's jump right into it. So this is Decommission Podcast episode 2, and we're going to jump right into talking about um, what is why you should know your budget before going shopping. And I always tell my clients this because I get a client as a realtor. I get clients that'll tell me, well, let's find the house first, and if I really like it, I'll go through the hassle of trying to get financing, right? And I try to tell clients that's like going to Louis Vuitton um, without knowing what's in your wallet, right? So you're going to somewhere where the prices are it's a little higher. It's a little higher than what you're used to paying for a purse. And the difference between rent and a mortgage can be that as drastic as buying a Walmart bag versus a Louis Vuitton bag. So, for example, the last rent that I had a client that went from renting to buying. The last time they paid rent, they were paying $1,800 a month for a comfortable 3-bedroom, 2-bath home, right?
Yes.
And but then to get the same kind of even maybe a little more comfortable in great schools and no crime or whatever, which was a stark contrast to where they were living. uh, they were buying a $500,000 home, and at that time with the interest rates what they were looking at a $3,600 a month payment. So that's almost double. And a lot of that goes into it, and I know that we'll kind of unpack what goes into these payments. But yeah, so for me, it's like if you don't really know what your budget is, uh, you're just window shopping and you're wasting your own time by not knowing how much you can actually truly afford. And maybe you, with your experience, you can tell us a little bit more about expectation versus the reality that maybe people come to you and tell you, this is what I want versus what they actually ultimately end up getting.
Yeah, that's very true. In many cases, I I start with my phone call. Hey Isaac, I'm looking to buy a home. And I just saw this beautiful 4-bedroom, nice pool. So in their minds, it's like, okay, they have a home already in their minds,
Hmm.
that they picked out. Now it's time to get the financing. I think that's double working because we have to go back and get you approved very quickly because you need to submit an offer ASAP,
Hmm.
even in any kind of market, even in this market. I think it's always good to put in your offer as soon as possible. I think it's always beneficial. So to to work on your approval ASAP and get you your pre-approval letter, make sure we can do the loan, make sure you're good to go, your monthly payment, um, and to submit your offer, that's a window of maybe 5 days right there. If you're really, getting your documents to your lender, reviewing everything, it can be quicker than that. But overall, just getting documents to me, getting you approved, you reviewing your offer. It's a good solid 4 or 5 days.
So
Yeah.
what do you as a lender require to provide at least a pre-approval letter? So a lot of people they'll never get it, and this is the mentality that I'm seeing clients' wheels turning, uh, because they think that they know uh, what the process is. So what is it that you as a lender ask for in order to get that pre-approval done, which is so crucial to submit an offer with? Nobody's going to consider an offer without a pre-approval letter. That's
Right,
like saying,
exactly.
trust me, I got the money in the bank.
That's
That's not
exactly
how we
right.
buy real estate, right? So that has to be backed up by something. It's usually a pre-approval letter, or if it's all cash, a proof of funds. So somebody needs to see your bank statements.
Yeah.
So
So Jorge,
what do you ask for?
that's a good question. So I always explain about the 3 pillars. Something very simple because there's a lot of different types of loans. And on top of the loan program, there's a lot of different um, types of loans, and then there's loan programs like down payment assistance. So to put everything in a spectrum, there's always 3 pillars. It's always credit, your work history, and your down payment. Credit score, we have typically at least a 620. that would be very great. And a 2-year work history, whether you're self-employed or you're W-2, and just your minimum down payment.
Okay.
I think that's a great start.
So then a couple of questions about that. So first of all, the work history, when you say 2-year work history, does that have to be in the same job?
It does not have to be in the same job. It just you have to be at least working for 2 years. Or in that working can be part of school. So if you go to school, college, education, and you graduate as a excuse me, you graduate and you're a nurse, you're a police officer, you're a doctor. That the time of being in school counts as your work history. So you don't have to be at your work physically 2 years. Your education is part of your work history. And to the other spectrum, if you've been working for 2 years, but you have been going from job to job, that's okay too. I did a loan for a young guy that had 12 previous jobs,
Wow.
and he finally found what he wanted to do. And
Yeah.
once we found that, he wanted to take the chance of buying a home. So as long as you have a work history, you've been actively working, or you've been in school, that counts as your work history.
So taking school out of it, if it's a consistent 2 years of work history, does it have to be in the same field?
It depends what kind of loan, whether it's FHA or conventional, but typically it does not. The guy that I did a loan for was FHA. He had 12 jobs. It was in the food industry, the retail industry. Um, he was even in the mortgage industry for a little while, and now he's back to doing what he likes to do, which is, I believe, it was accounting. So he had plenty of experience in different fields, and we still got him approved and got him into a home.
Perfect. So then you mentioned the food industry. So I waited tables when I was younger. Um, and I had people twice my age who never owned a home. They continued to rent during that time. What can we do, or what can be done for people that take cash tips home, for example, every single day? How does that factor into trying to get them a loan? Is that something that's possible?
It is absolutely possible. It all comes down if you're a 1099 or a W-2. Many places are different. Some the business might be great, but it might be like a very um like mom and pop. So they
Mhm,
probably give you a 1099 at the end of the year.
mhm,
So everything's a little different. But if you have a W-2, we need the consistency of 2 years. So
mhm,
we can average out your overtime, we can average out your tips, we can average out your bonuses.
mhm,
That would give us a clear indication how much we can average and use
mhm.
as income.
So then what you're saying is that whenever someone is, for example, waiting tables, in order for you to get them approved, they have to declare as much as possible in their taxes. Is that what you're saying?
If they're W-2, I'm
If they're
sorry, if
W
they're
two, right?
1099, yeah.
Yeah. So because what happens, what I've seen in a lot of these cash, where the employees are getting paid. So in Texas, waiters and waitresses are making 213 an hour. They're not making minimum wage.
Mhm.
So even if they consistently deposit into their bank account every week, but they're not declaring, which I've seen a lot of, they're only declaring half of what they actually make. Are you saying that they would have to get into the better habit of doing that?
You're you're saying to claim that income in their taxes, right?
Yeah, right.
If they're W-2, we don't need tax returns.
Hmm.
If they're 1099, then we would need the tax returns. So I would
Okay.
say yes. I would. If you're 1099, you need to talk to the lender.
Hmm.
I think as a 1099, you really have to have your lender communicate with your CPA very nicely. So you can report the right income, and file
Okay.
the right mileage, file the right appreciation. All that comes into play, and then we can kind of see, how much we need to file, how much we need to kind of put in the numbers so you can qualify as traditional financing.
Okay. And then so then you also said out of your the things that you're going to look at whenever you're trying to get someone qualified, talking about, do you have the down payment available, right? So then that's one of the big questions that people, because they don't get a clear answer, they never actually jump into maybe buying a home.
Mhm.
So what do you need? How much do you need to see? Is there a number that you would like to see? And I know that it's dependent upon the value of the property and all of these things, but
I mean, there's
what
always
how would you answer that question? Hey, how much, somebody that's just off the street, how much should I have as a down payment?
as beginning your
Mhm,
journey of becoming a home buyer, I would say have 5% of the purchase price
mhm,
and about 3 months of reserve.
yeah,
3 months of it. The 3 months of reserve is not required. But it's always better to, buy a home and then have excess money in the bank. That's called reserve. And the reason for that, because maybe you can touch a little bit on this, because I believe there's expenses outside of closing, like your moving
Oh yeah.
expenses,
Yeah.
like your
Okay.
first get together at your party, getting furniture, all that costs money. And
Yep.
you never know if you can get sick throughout that, or anything could happen. Life happens to everybody,
Yep.
So I would say get 5% of the purchase price, and then just 3 months of reserve.